So yeah, this one comes from our friend Tim in Minnesota.
Yeah.
Tim in Minnesota is asking, we have a daughter and a son. My wife and I are wondering if you handle dating any differently when it comes to your daughters versus dating with your sons.
Dating differently for sons or daughters. So my daughters, you can't date till you're 35. Sons, let's see. What would I give for dating advice? So one of my sons is married, and the others are not yet married. And I heard something that I think has really stuck in the back of my mind, and I think it's really interesting. If you look in the Bible, you look and see that there are basically two relationships between men and women in the Bible. I'm not talking about parent-child relationships, but like adults, men and women. You have brother-sister relationships, either biologically or also in Christ. You have brother-sister relationships, and then you have husband and wife relationships. And so he mentioned that we should be brother and sister and treat each other with honor and respect as brother and sister, even through a dating relationship, without stealing those sacred things that go along with the husband-wife relationship exclusively. And that's sort of what the boyfriend-girlfriend stage is. It's sort of going from, I just met you, and without the commitment of marriage, people are stealing the sacred things that go along with marriage long before they're married. And that's often what causes so much pain and guilt and shame in dating relationships. And so I would say open up that whole conversation and say, what is your relationship based upon? And that's what we try to do with our kids. And of course, I can't ensure that my kids are going to adopt my values or my perspective on those things, but I want them to know what God's perspective is.
Yeah.
And so, when my kids are seeing a young man or a young woman, that's what we encourage them to do, is understand who they are, treat them as your brother, treat them as your sister, and learn how to be kind to them, to love them, to be gracious to them, and to respect and to honor them, knowing that they could be someone else's husband one day. They could be someone else's wife one day, and don't defraud them by taking things that belong to their husband and their wife. I remember a pastor said this once. He said that his son was talking to a young girl that he thought was pretty cute, and he said, "Hey son, I saw that girl she really likes you." And he said, "Oh, you think so, Dad?" He's like, "Oh, I saw her giving you the eyes and everything, and I could tell you think she's pretty special too. And she really wants to get to know you more." He says, "You know what you're supposed to do, don't you?" And his son was like 15 at the time. His son says, "What?" He goes, "Run for the hills." He said, "Run away." And he said, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "Son," he goes, "never go shopping without any money in your pockets. Because if you do, you're going to leave the store either frustrated or you're going to steal something that doesn't belong to you. And if you're getting hot and heavy with the girl without the resources to commit to marriage, you're going to wind up frustrated or you're going to wind up defrauding that girl and her future husband. So be wise and be mature. And if you get to that point where you say, you know what, this girl is somebody I want to spend the rest of my life with, or at least explore that option, then you go talk to her dad and you get his blessing, and then you walk down that road in a wise and honoring way. So I thought that was great advice.